Hey everyone, Gabriel here. I just wanted to let you know that my next two videos, and the one previous to this, are going to be me in this shirt because I'm making most of my videos tonight because I have midterms coming up and I won't have time to study for those for my college classes over the weekend if I'm making videos. So I'm making these videos in advance and will publish them at a future time. So my topic today is going to be one that's controversial to start off with, but it's not actually that bad once I get into it. This is my opinion on consent. Women, girls, and females, this is calling you out. Don't get me wrong, this isn't to most of you. This is just for a select few to fix your behavior. To the rest of you, this is to educate you about something that isn't always straightforward. Consent. Let me explain it, hear me out. I first and foremost promise to never lie to you about any personal stories I tell. Now, I once, probably last year, I went out with a girl. I'm going to call her JD. Now, we went on a date, we got some coffee, or actually, coffee comes later. We got some pizza, and we talked for probably a good hour and a half, 2 hours. Good conversation. So then, after lunch of pizza, we went and we were going, and she passed a coffee shop, and she was like, "Hey, I'd like a coffee." And I was like, "Okay, I'll buy a coffee for you." Now, to give you a little background information, I told her at the beginning of the date, I listen to the word no. If you use the word no, I stop. Blanket statement. If you use the word no, I stop. And so she was like, "No, I'll get it." And so I was like, "Okay," because she used the word no, and I let her know that ahead of time. So then, the next day, she let me know that, she doesn't want a second date because I didn't push hard enough. She was wanting me to push harder at the word no. Now, I know that a lot of you may not do this, and some of the rest of you may do this, but not frequently. But if a guy is respecting the word no, you guys can't have double standards. You can't. Yes always means yes. Girls usually mean yes when they say yes, unless drugs are involved. But if a girl says no with something physical, guys should respect that. If a girl says no with anything else, guys should respect that. Girls expecting guys to not respect it is just asking for trouble. If a guy wants your number and you say no, how do we know that you don't want us to push harder, assert our alpha personalities? How do we know? If you guys start making double standards with, "Well, I actually wanted you guys to push harder. I wanted you guys to do this even though I said no," you guys are asking to have your no's be ignored. I'm not saying that guy's faultless, but he doesn't hold a lot of the blame if you say no and have double standards and use it differently at different times. Clearly, if there's blatant sarcasm like, "No, really?" then yeah, a guy can pick up on that. But if you're like, "No, I got it," how are we supposed to know that you're not meaning it? How are we supposed to know what you want if you're using your words and lying to us? We are not psychic. You can't have double standards and get away with it. You can do it for a while, but when it eventually catches up with you, it's not their fault entirely. You've got to understand that. Earlier this year, I have a younger brother. His name is N. Well, I'm calling him N for this. He has a friend. Her name was JC. And I was very attracted to JC. She was 18, very pretty, lovely person, wonderful personality, one of the kindest people ever. And so we went out on a date. And we had sushi, we went to art museums because she wanted to go to art, took some walks, and at the end of the date, we were sitting in her car, and we talked for about a good hour on, personal histories and physical abuse that happened to her, and a whole variety of things, and it was a really good conversation. And so at the end, I asked, "Can I kiss you?" And this is verbatim. "Can I kiss you?" And she looked at me and she said yes. And so I leaned over and I kissed her. And I pulled back, and she leaned over and she kissed me. Now, what would you say she was thinking at that point? Probably you'd think, she leaned in to kiss you. She must have liked the kiss, or been into it, or been into me. I would agree with that statement. That makes sense. Generally, people don't go into a situation deliberately and initiate something that they're not comfortable with. But this girl apparently did. The next day, she told me that she was uncomfortable in the situation. And I asked why. And I was like, I asked you first. And she said, but you said, can I? You didn't say, may I. Yes, everybody technically can. I'm asking you people, I know that like 99.9% of you don't do this, but is that a reasonable statement? A guy is going and asking for permission for something that is mostly regarded as trivial, a kiss. He's asking for permission. You know that he's asking. And you choose to answer the statement clearly based off of a grammatically incorrect phrasing. If a guy is asking to kiss you, it's because he wants to. And when you say yes, whether he uses can I or may I, he's going to do it. He's not going to double check himself and think, did I say may I or can I? I better make sure. No, don't do that. That is absolutely a jerk move. Because the guy's going to do it because he got your permission, or what he thinks is your permission, which a normal person would view as your permission. And then you go and you blame him later for it? What is up with that? Granted, not a whole lot of women do this, but I want women to know that sometimes when a girl says that something happened to her against her will, it's not always, I'm not saying it's not usually, it's not always the guy's fault. Sometimes girls are crazy, and sometimes they use the words yes and no in ways that they shouldn't, and ways that they know they shouldn't, but they do anyway. Guys are not blameless, girls are not blameless. That is all I'm saying with this video. Yes, consent is very important. Make sure that you indicate that you're giving consent or not. Don't be sarcastic, or if you are being sarcastic, be blatantly sarcastic, not the subtle type where you just expect us to pick up on it, especially if a guy is asking permission for something physical. So, consent is always important, but as the Bible says, and as logic says, let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. And with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Hope I didn't offend any of you guys. I certainly didn't mean to. I'm just telling you my personal stories, and hope that you guys who do any of these things take them to heart, because I think they are very important for making sure that guys don't even get in trouble for stuff that they didn't do that was wrong, and girls get out of situations that they are uncomfortable with. Have a great night, and I hope to see you guys soon.